Hey, welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and Giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for The King in Giallo, and I just got finished watching Sergio Martino's 1972, All the Colors of the Dark. This was the first time I've seen this movie. I've owned it for over a year, and finally it was time to watch it. So, this one is different. This one is very different. Starts out really, really cool with a nightmare sequence that was very reminiscent of both The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward and all of those weird psychosexual flashbacks, as well as the hallucination nightmares in Lizard in a Woman's Skin. So, okay, I kind of am like at a loss for words for this. So this is what, let's start with this. Firstly, this project was very heavy with Giallo veterans. I was actually continuously being blown away, like, oh my god, this person is in that too. So it stars Edwige Fenech, George Hilton is in it, Ivan Rassimov, and right there, that's like most of the all-stars of Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. George Rigaud, Susan Scott, aka Nieves Navarro, Marina Malfatti, Alan Collins, aka Luciano Pigozzi, and then Dominique Boschero, and Tom Filagi. And then on top of that, it's directed by Sergio Martino, as I already said. It's written by Ernesto Gastaldi and Sauro Scavolini, with the music by Bruno Nicolai. So very, very Giallo. It's the cast, the crew, everybody in it. Like I said, this one was fairly different. It was, to me, a little bit reminiscent of a few Giallo films. I don't want to give all that away just now. So what I will say about this movie is, I'll give you a little brief rundown of the plot, some of the things I really liked, and I'll warn you before I go into spoilers. Again, I say I don't want to be talking too long, but I actually really mean that. I really don't want to be talking too long on this one. Alternate titles are Day of the Maniac and They're Coming to Get You. Yeah, they work. I mean, All the Colors of the Dark is like, the name is sort of fitting, but it's not like really fitting. So this movie, the plot, Edwige Fenech's character has been experiencing nightmares ever since she was in an accident and had a miscarriage, and she's been going to a therapist or a psychoanalyst for help. Her sister kind of turned her on to this guy. Her sister is Nieves Navarro. Edwige Fenech's boyfriend is George Hilton, and the doctor is George Rigaud. And she goes to him. She doesn't really get the help she's looking for, and she keeps seeing this man stalking her. And it's Ivan Rassimov with the most like amazing blue eyes. And I thought one thing that stood out to me was like, okay, so he's actually like hyped up even more to be like a more sinister version of who he was in Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. But one thing that this movie does a lot of, which did remind me of Lizard, which also kind of reminded me of Short Night of Glass Dolls, is you don't know throughout most of it how much of this is real versus how much of this is Edwige Fenech, I think her name is Jane, how much of this is just her going crazy. Because it's one of those Giallo movies where it's not so much that there's a killer going around killing people, black gloves, all that stuff. It's more like this character is kind of going crazy, kind of falling apart. She's got a lot of trauma, and she hasn't really gotten over this. Oh, also, what we find out in the scene with the doctor is when she was 7 years old, she witnessed her mom being murdered. And yeah, that also kind of reminded me a little bit of Libido, or a little bit of Hatchet for the Honeymoon. Anyway, so she keeps seeing this man who's following her, and she thinks she's being stalked going home, and she runs into her new neighbor, who is Mary is her name, and she's played by Marina Malfatti. And this was probably the best role I've seen Marina Malfatti in. She actually had a good amount of speaking lines. She wasn't played up to just be like crazy, and she didn't die right away. So I was like, oh, this is actually nice, because in all the other movies I've seen her in, her part was very limited, or she just kind of had like a one-dimensional part. And I think I said it in the last video talking about Seven Bloodstained Orgasm. My God, I'm already forgetting the name. I'm like, yeah, I think she's all right. I just haven't really seen her in anything that I was impressed with. And this, I actually was impressed. But Mary tells her, like, oh, you know what would really help? You should go to one of my black masses with my group. Okay, so we're interjecting some like 1970s Satanism into this satanic cult, and she does go and witnesses some weird rites and gets initiated in, and now she's locked into this. And that's kind of where I'll go in terms of what I'll say without going too far in, but that's probably like 30 minutes in is all that stuff happening. And things don't really seem to be getting better for her. I think at one point she says like the nightmares have stopped, but they haven't. So I mean, it's just kind of like, why would you think that taking part in a black mass would solve any of your problems? So I'll say this, in terms of that alternative title of "They're Coming to Get You," yeah, that makes sense for the cult, because shit doesn't really go any easier for Jane. Day of the Maniac, in terms of, I guess, Ivan Rasimov's character constantly stalking her, maybe, but I don't know, that title doesn't really land all that much. What else can I say about this? The cinematography was great. The soundtrack was great for the most part. There was all the really eerie tracks were really, really memorable. And the acting was fairly good. One thing that I noticed with Edwige Fenech is when she's in these movies and she's kind of made to be like hysterical and like running, and she's just kind of like flailing her arms and running, it's a little like, okay. But when she's like in a medium shot and she's just like looking in the mirror, or she's just like looking around, she's kind of going crazy. She can do so much great acting with more subtlety. And yeah, so she can do a lot of great acting with her eyes and convey a lot without really doing a lot. When I see her do things like that, I think, wow, she is a powerful actor. But then it's when she's got to be kind of going over the top crazy, and like I said, running away, and she's just kind of running with her arms in the air. It's just like, oh. But yeah, and then on top of this, they're all in England, and so they've all got English accents, which was a little odd, especially like George Hilton. I don't know why, it was just kind of odd to me. I did like the movie. I think as the movie went on, though, I was kind of being like, all right, this movie really, really needs to pay all this stuff off. Like I said, it's a lot of what is really going on. Is any of this happening, or is she just going crazy? And as the movie was going along, it was kind of just getting a lot of that. And when a Giallo movie does go that route, like I've said before, it's walking a thin line for me of like, okay, this is just getting a little tired now. And funny enough, I think one of the reviews I've read for this movie was just tiresome. And I kind of get that. I understand where that person or that website was coming from. Like, yeah, I liked this movie, but I can't say that I really, really loved it. In terms of the other Sergio Martino Giallo films I've seen, I really like Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. I really like Torso. I like Case of the Scorpion's Tail. This might actually, of all of those four, I've seen some others. I've seen Investigation of a System of Suspicion. But yeah, of all the Sergio Martino Giallo films I've seen, I think this might be my least favorite. And that's not to say that I did not like it. It's just, it's so hard to really pull me in with a Giallo that's someone going crazy throughout the duration of the movie and introducing the whole aspect of the satanic cult, which I did think was unique. But I've also seen cults in Short Night of Glass Dolls and a couple other Giallo movies, but this one, it was just done so early on. And what was also kind of cool was I was wondering, I was like, okay, how is this going to get back to a Giallo format? Because for a Giallo to really be that, the mystery or the whole thing that's going on needs to be rooted in human affairs, reality. It can't be some weird paranormal, supernatural thing going on. And so for the first part of the movie, I was like, this is all kind of weird stuff. And so I was wondering how much of this is like spells or magic or anything. And I was kind of getting concerned. Like, it's both a Giallo, but then there's also a lot of stuff it's doing that kind of feels like it's getting itself away from it. But by the end, yes. I guess we'll just go into spoilers. Okay. Spoiler territory now. In terms of why it reminded me of Lizard in a Woman's Skin, with all the weird stuff going on, this character is, going crazy. Then it did something else in the movie that I was like, okay, this is really Lizard in a Woman's Skin. She keeps going back to the Black Mass, and they're basically having orgies with her, and she's like ending up with like tattooed signs of like the cult, and eventually she's told to kill Mary's her name, yeah. And like Mary has been trying to get out of the cult, or trying to get out, and so in order for her to get out, she had to bring somebody else in. And Jane is given this like ritualistic dagger, and she's made to kill Mary. And she's talking about this to her doctor, to the therapist, and she's wondering if any of this is even real. And I'm like, okay, that's Lizard in a Woman's Skin, kind of, like that's like what happens in the first 15 minutes of that movie. Which, funny enough, I think George Rigaud is the doctor in that one too. Is he? Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's so funny. Oh my God, I didn't make that connection right away. A lot of the stuff just kind of felt, and I have not rewatched this yet, so I don't know how much things will kind of fall into place better. Like, oh wow, I see how they're setting that up. But upon this initial viewing, yeah, I thought the movie was good, but it's just not. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And I know a lot of people who really like this movie, and I understand why. But yeah, there was some stuff with the writing though, where, okay, it's revealed that Jane's mother was also a part of this cult, and she tried to get away. She tried to get out without, going through the proper channels, or without doing the thing you have to do. And so they murdered her. Okay. We get towards the end, and the doctor is helping Jane. He sends her to this country house with these people to kind of, it's like a safe house. And immediately I'm kind of thinking, okay, I don't know if I can trust anybody in this movie. That's kind of one of the cool things that the script did, was like, anybody could be in this cult. I'm thinking George Hilton could be in it. I'm thinking the doctor could be in it. The doctor is also not trusting of George Hilton, Jane's boyfriend. And in the finale, like, the old couple who's taking care of her for the night, they get murdered. She calls the doctor, I need help. He's like, I'm on my way. And then he gets killed. She's getting chased by Ivan Rassimov, and he's about to kill her. And then she gets rescued by her boyfriend, by George Hilton. He just stabs him in the back with like a hay fork or whatever, a bifork, whatever you'd call it. It's got 2 points. A bident, not a trident, whatever. Anyways, and then she's in the hospital, and then she just has like hallucination after hallucination after she's getting put under with sedatives. And it's like one of the nightmares is that she accidentally kills her boyfriend. What was his name? Richard. She accidentally kills Richard, and the leader of the satanic cult, he's like, oh, she killed him. And the police take her away, and the police all have like the satanic tattoos, and she's brought back to the castle where the cult, the Black Mass, is. And then she wakes up like that's not real. And there was just kind of a lot going on. And eventually she wakes up, Richard's there. They meet with Tom Falagi's character, who is the inspector, who tells him that, like, yeah, we caught the Satanists. We know their story. You find out that her sister Barbara, played by Nieves Navarro, she was really high ranking in the satanic cult, and she was trying to get rid of her sister so she could get at Richard, which you're like, why? And I guess because their mom was in the cult, then that somehow she got into the cult too. And Richard ends up killing her because, she's crazy. She's like, I want you, Richard. So we find out all these people were in the cult. Yeah, Ivan Rassimov, who obviously we already knew that. Her sister Barbara, Mary, the neighbor, yeah, we already knew all that. The lawyer comes in. You saw him earlier in a really brief scene, Luciano Pigozzi, and he tells him, I think if this is right, the man who murdered their mother fled to Australia, and he left a fortune to the girls, to Jane and Barbara. I guess he was their father. I don't remember, but he died, and so the fortune was to go to them. But because Barbara is dead, now the fortune is entirely going to Jane. Which, again, all this stuff just kind of feels like, okay, like easy come, easy go, like why? And I'm wondering if Barbara knew about this and this is why she was trying to get rid of Jane. That's some stuff that I'd have to go back and really focus on, like what was going on there. Like also, the fact that there was a satanic cult and Jane's trauma with the miscarriage happened in a car accident that you see a brief glimpse of a car going down the road and then all of a sudden like kind of swerving and hitting a pole, that resulting in a death, the miscarriage, as well as being possibly caused by the satanic cult. I'm thinking Hereditary. There was a lot of nods to other horror and a lot of similarities and ties to future horror movies. I don't know. I did like this movie. I'm going to have to watch it again. I mean, I'm going to watch it like a few more times in the course of doing the videos for it. But yeah, initially I just kind of, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I did feel like the script kind of dropped the ball at a few places. I feel like it was spinning too many plates and then it just kind of explained things away or paid things off in just odd ways where I'm like, why? There was some really good stuff in the movie though. I really liked that first nightmare sequence. I liked a lot of the nightmare sequences. The style was really, really over the top. There was a lot of almost like every stylistic thing in the book was in here. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of stuttering, a lot of crash zooms, a lot of colored lights, a lot of this, that. The scene with the satanic cult. There was a part where they bring in a dog and the guy like turns his back to the camera with the dog and he goes like that and you hear and all this blood's coming out and they make her drink it and then they have their way with her. It's just a big like orgy. There was good stuff in there, but it was also just like what? I guess I can wrap this up. I don't really know what else to say. I've been talking for about 20 minutes, so I think that's good enough. Anyways, yeah. So have you seen All the Colors of the Dark? What are your thoughts of the movie? I'm just going to assume I did not turn you onto this movie. That would be odd if you're a Giallo fan, you never heard of this movie, and I did it. But hey, you never know. Maybe you're new to this genre and you found my channel and I kind of got you onto this. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts for the movie are. I imagine most of you probably enjoy this movie more than I do, and that's totally fine. I do really, really like Sergio Martino. I don't think he gets enough credit compared to Argento. But this one was just kind of I don't even want to say it was a mess because that's makes it sound like I really didn't like it. I just think the writing was a little odd. Everything else, the directing was really good, the acting was good, the music was good. Yeah, I think Gastaldi just kind of I think he was writing too many scripts. And I think this one just kind of that's it. I do feel like the things they were setting up should have been paid off differently. Some things should have been reworked. I don't know. That's just me. But let me know what your thoughts are on it. Hell, you probably have some good insight that I'm just oblivious to. So change my mind. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'll get back to you. You can find this movie. I own it on a Blu-ray from Severin, but I also found it on, what was it, Dailymotion or one of those sites. If you just look it up, if you just Google it, All the Colors of the Dark 1972, it'll pop up. Or even All the Colors of the Dark 1972 stream, it'll pop up. I always think it's kind of funny when people ask me like, how do you find this movie? I'm like, did you even look? Did you just Google it and it'll pop up with the first 4 will be like where you can watch it. But I don't think it's on Shudder right at the moment. Maybe it is. I don't think so. Hold on. Let me know your predictions for the movie's Jolly Tally score. Let me know what you think the AZ score is going to be. How many out of 26? Let me know give me a range of what you think the final Jolly Tally score is. I'll give you my prediction. There was a lot of cliches in this movie. There were a lot of flashbacks. There was a lot of nudity. There was a lot of kills. And there was a lot of Jalo veterans that were in previous things. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be pretty high. I don't know if it's gonna be as high as the Case of the Bloody Iris, but it might. I'm gonna say 700 to 750 points. Anyways, this is Tanner Leeser for the King and Jalo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.